Okay, so a lot of people sort of say things like, oh, I want to know what to play over this chord progression or that chord progression. And I think I always say you should learn chord tones, and people say, what, arpeggios? And I kind of go, no, chord tones, right? And people go, what's the difference? So I want to demonstrate what the difference is in this video between the two things. For me, chord tones are like the pillars that you can hang everything on. So for instance, if I play a line like I'm really playing some chromatics and some scale tones, but I'm basing everything I'm doing around the chord tones of G major, right? For instance, or, you know, something like this, you know. I'm basing what I'm doing around B7, maybe B flat 9, sorry, B flat 7, B flat 9 a little bit, but I'm kind of, you know, really thinking about that chord being outlined strongly when I play a line. So that's kind of the main thing, I think, for any sort of serious student of improvisation to start off doing, and certainly in a jazz context. I think it's useful for all kinds of music, actually, not just jazz. But one thing I see is kind of a lot of stereotype practice. So people will do things like, if I take the chord progression to, I always seem to end up on Out of Nowhere for some reason. I think I just like that tune. So, you know, they'll go. Oh, sorry, that's not it. Or, that's all right. I mean, if you do it in position, that's actually a valuable exercise to do. Usually for dominants I use a seventh, and for majors and minors I just use a triad. I know it doesn't seem very jazzy. You can use seventh chords if you want. That works as well, but it's like what you can see, hopefully what I'm doing there is I'm playing everything from the one, or at least I'm trying to. I find it quite difficult to do. Now that's fine. If you do that in enough positions, you're going to build up a picture of where the chord tones are. But what I like to do is I like to slow things down a bit and concentrate on connections. So what I'll practice is something like this. Maybe even fewer notes. Same harmonic rhythm. Interesting. There I am. So it was I'll play the second half, sorry, so you can hear it. Oh, sorry. Finished. That kind of thing, right? So if there's ever an unfamiliar chord progression, anything you're doing, and some of those might be unfamiliar to people because You know, there's some non 2/5 back cycling type motion in Out of Nowhere. Then you can start to join it together more for improvisation. So just to sort of be a little bit clear about what I'm doing, that when I play, so here that I'm able to nail like the sound of the chord changes really with very few notes. I'll strip it down even further. Let's do it up here. So, I mean, I was playing a few chromatics there that time, but what I find it really does is it kind of allows you to relax, you know, because you don't have so much to play. In combination with the chordal thing, it's very powerful actually. So, you know, if I'm to play any tune, I mean, like for instance, like anything at all, really. It could be, you know, a rock tune, it could be a jazz tune, it could be anything, as long as it's got harmonic movement in it. Then that allows me just to communicate the changes very, very simply. And then it gives me a really, really good background to be able to explore rhythmically and based around groove, you know, what ideas that aren't just sort of a million notes or a bunch of running quavers all the time, if that makes any sense. For instance, I find it very useful to, you know, to be able to play motifs like this kind of thing that I was playing earlier. LCV. And I don't think you'd come up with those ideas if you were playing scalically, but I can use little scalic lines. You'll notice, like I was using my scalic knowledge to go, for instance, you know, the passing notes are different depending on which thing you play, you know, so it can be useful to have that information there. But you have a whole lot more freedom you can do of what you can do rhythmically because you feel like you're holding it down. And of course, what I'm doing here is based very much on 1, 3, 5, maybe some sevenths, maybe some sixths, mostly on 1, 3, 5. But you're not limited to playing, you know, the chords as they're written. You know, you can play like B minor as your first chord because that's compatible with G. It's like a sort of diatonic substitution, functional sub. And then you've already got the B minor set up. Maybe it's that triad there because it's related to the E13 flat 9, so that's a D flat triad. So if I do that, I'm still outlining the harmonic sort of space. So let's do this one. And Instead of playing E flat 7 here, maybe we'll play the upper structure triad, which is F. So let's try that. So B minor. And then extending the chord maybe. So hopefully, I mean, I'm aware that I'm kind of been in a Barry Harris space for a long time, and Barry Harris's ideas are that, you know, all of this stuff comes from scales, and that's kind of true, but this is a flip side way of looking at it.